Hey there, and welcome back to another episode in my series How to Start with Monogame. And today we're gonna look at sound. So, first off, I'm going to say we're just gonna work on sound effects, not actually adding background music. Background music is something I have to look a bit more into how I would like to try to make that work, because there's two different kind of sound classes in XNA slash monogame, which is one is called sound effect and one is called music or song. Actually, it might be named song, but I've had a bit of a problem myself with how to load these, since I go not by the usage of the pipeline. We're going to load the wave files like kind of from stream. So we're going to look at that, and just want to say I know these videos of me making tutorials, they don't come out all that often. I usually do a lot of let's play videos and stuff. I would say I'm working on it. I constantly think about these videos, and I try to come up with the ways to do this in a timely fashion. Like today, 10 hours of work, it's hard to fit in like a good lesson. So before I make any more excuses, let's just start off and look at this thing. But gonna try to make it short, and it's actually going to be a short episode because adding sound isn't all that complex. We're just gonna kind of make the manager for it and the class that holds kind of the kind of sound setting. So first off, what we want to create is a new class. Also, something I've been thinking about, I'm gonna call it sound manager, by the way, is that, whoops, I clicked something I didn't need to click. That I might not always show you the best way of doing things. So I want you to keep that in mind. Like, this is not the ultimate way of doing anything in monogame. Well, unless I have a stroke of luck and actually somehow made it the ultimate way when I code. But I can see many flaws in the things I do in, like, kind of, you could do it like this and that. The whole entire kind of how to start with monogame is just, how to start you off. So if you find something, you go like, do you really have to do that? Should I really do that? That's the beauty of, programming and all that. You just change that. You take that part of the code and you just make whatever changes you would like. So for instance, I kind of want to send to the sound manager that I want to create these typical sound effects, and I want them to have a certain amount of instances that they can be played in, and when we stop the sound, we're going to stop all of those instances. You might feel like, nah, I don't want to stop all the instances. I want to perhaps stop a specific instance of one of the same sound. And then you would have to add a bit of code, which I'm not going to have here, because I find that the way to get started, the way to just have something here, is to basically just be able to play a sound and stop it. And the instances will help you. I wouldn't want to have just one instance, because then you would 100% always hear the sound kind of cut off and start again if you try to make the same sound twice in a row, with like a very short delay in between. So let's see. The first thing I want to is to have a dictionary of string and something we'll call sound fx, which we haven't created yet, and I'm going to call these, and it's going to be private actually. We're going to call it settings. And let us actually, I wonder, do we have a good quick action here? I mean, we have generate class, but I guess it puts it in the managers if I do this. And it generates it, or does it generate it in the same file here? No, oh yeah, one was a new file, the other one was to generate it here. Okay, so it generated it here. We don't want it here. I'll just drag it out to YouTube game project here, and we shall find it. And we shall have a, did it update that itself, or did it set it? Oh. I'm gonna just, can I? No, never mind. Okay, I was trying to undo it to see if that actually worked. Also, it doesn't have any using statements when you do this, but I usually don't do it. I usually go right click. It should also show you, but I usually do that anyway, just add here. So we're gonna make a struct actually, because we are just gonna keep kind of basic values. We're going to keep something like a key. I hope I'm doing this correctly, else I might have to change it a bit. An asset name actually should be I'm gonna check how I've used that. I'm going a bit by memory here. And I think it's a float. I'm just gonna check so I don't mess up on that. It's gonna take 2 floats, yeah. So we have a default volume get set, and we have something called default pitch, so we can play the sounds in different pitches and in different volumes. And we go back to Sound Manager. And here I want to create a new dictionary. This is, by the way, sound. I'm going to show you as soon as I've written this sound effect using audio. Sound effects. Now, something I've already decided here that I haven't actually gone through yet, because we haven't really gotten to that point, is when you say, I want to play sound X, like boom or explosion or something, do you want to have like an enum? You could have something like, I don't know why, automatically type private, but like call it sound effect enum or whatever you want to, or, and you would say jump, explosion. If so, the key here is what I would say is the kind of the sound effect enum. So this is just a preference of mine, because I just want to be able to say, for example, I usually use the enums, but I've recently in my own projects just decided that I want strings, so I could say, explosion, and I could put in kind of anything I would want to do here, like explosion, weird signs, 1 tilde or whatever. Not that I actually do that yet. I just decided I want to work with strings and see how I feel about that. Also, you won't have to update an enum, but of course enums help you keep it type safe, so you can't like, you won't say play sound explosoin because you misspelled explosion, and all of a sudden you wonder why isn't, my sound being played, and it's going to, or hopefully it'll say, by the way, there's no sound called that. So you can get around these things, but you might want to use an enum for this part. If you prefer that, I would advise you just go for it. It doesn't really affect anything of how this works. I'm going to create something called, and it's going to be it could be an array. I'm just thinking, I think I prefer to use lists here. It might be a bit of a waste of memory, but it's not gonna take like a gigantic hit. But for those who want to minimize that a bit, you could probably make this just an array of sound effect instances. I think it's because I had plans of making the instances be able to be maybe growing a bit or something like that. Of course, an array, you have to say basically, it's this large and it can only hold these many, and then you'll have to re-instance the array if you want to have it keep more. Yes, of course. And then the sound manager, I just wanted to take a dictionary of string and sound FX. No, sorry. List of sound effects, and we'll just call it settings. Also, I just have to check here. Do I usually use this? I do usually, yeah. I just want to make sure, like all day at work, I do not get to use my P in front of the parameter. So I was like, do I do this in this project? Yes, I do. This is my preferred way of naming parameters personally, but and of course here we just do actually we should probably, just because it's probably best for you to see it, we'll go to YouTube game, and because this is gonna take parameters, I'm going to create a sound manager here and just call it sound manager, and a public sound manager. Whoops. Now that's something I've never been able to stop doing, typing the capital second letter of anything. Sound manager. So what we want to do here is like say sound manager equals new sound manager, and here we can just do a list of, okay, we don't need all that, thank you. Okay, so we apparently aren't using collections generic here, but we are now. And here we can provide a list of sound effects. And I think I'm going to change one of these names. I don't know why I'm just gonna double check. I've kind of used key and asset, but I think one is supposed to be, yeah, the asset name is actually supposed to be, like, it's an old thing that's followed me a bit. I think we'll change it. This is what I want to be the file name. Also, I should just have made a rename file name. So when we go back here to the YouTube game, sorry, where are we here? The idea is maybe you load these sound effects now, these effects from like a configuration file or something. Typically I do that, and it'll have all these sounds, or you however you want to, unless you want to do it like this, a hard-coded menu. But the idea here is to say maybe it's a coin sound, maybe capital, whatever. This is what I'll say, play this sound. This is the where you could have your enum of like a sound enum. So we have a key, we'll have a file name, something like coin.wave, and default pitch is 1, and default volume is 1. Now, this is just, so far I've just said that we have this coin thing, but we do not. Also, I think in order to stick with how we've done it before, we need to, first of all, we'll add to content here a folder called, what's the best? I don't know. I usually go with SFX for a sound effect. I think we do that. Now, I guess we want to tag on SFX. I just need to go to the content manager, see how we usually do. Yeah, we do not add any slashes. And when we load things, sorry for scrolling a bit here. We want to go to the startup game screen. Yeah, we say content slash, okay. So also something I do here that I usually don't do in the other is that I have the I mostly initiate a lot of things at startup, in the startup game screen. And that's something you might want to do. Right now I'm sort of basically loading these sounds for the like entire engine or the entire game. So no matter which game screen you're on, this sound manager is going to keep all these sounds. And you might not want to do that. You might want to split it up. So if so, you'll kind of make one sound manager for every game screen, and just when the game screen starts, you'll just instantiate the sound manager, and you'll be able to, we'll create that method that a load sounds or load content. Because right now we're just saying this is the information, but we, oops, where do I have my fingers? Content. But this is just loading information, and then we'll actually have it load. So basically now we say, okay, whenever we start the game, the sound manager gets instantiated with this. At some point, as in load content, we'll say sound manager. Maybe it's actually nicer to just keep on putting it here and say load content. let me just think here. We do have the content manager, and I think that's what we're going to send it. We can make a generate this method, and change a few things like this. Now, what I want to do here is, first of all, settings equals. Oh yeah, sorry. Well, yeah, I did do it like that. Okay, so I'm going to do this. Settings equals p settings to dictionary, and yeah. So we have S for sound or something. So what we're creating here is we're going to say we're going to create all these sound effects. We want them to be listed as a dictionary, but we have to decide what key we want to use, and we have a field in this every sound effects that is called key, which is in this case is the coin. This part, coin, right? This is a key. So, oops, key. So literally, settings is just now a dictionary that holds our loading, our information that we want to load. We'll create these two. And we just go to load content, right? So we will loop through the settings, and we shall create a sound effect, and that is where we use content content manager, and we'll have something called get sound effect. You know, apparently I had I remember it now, but I had forgotten that we did that in a previous episode. I will, for those who haven't seen that episode, because you might be here like just jumped into this one, I'll show that to you. But here we have the file name that we want to load. So this is the key value pair. SFX is, so we have the string as key and sound effects as the value. So we'll go into value, and then we have file name. So we're going to just say get sound effect, and we provide the file name, and that's going to be loaded. So we go to get sound effect in our content manager here and just check what does it do. It opens the file, and it just says sound effect.fromStream, and take that stream and put it into SFX and return it, else file not found. So that's it for that one. And now the part I kind of have to try to remember: if sound effect is not null, we can kind of no, wait, what? Oh yeah, well, we can still have this check, right? So we'll basically do let me just double check, can it even be null? Yeah, if the file doesn't exist, it actually throws a new exception. I wonder if that was an idea of mine in previous. I guess the other reason would be if the file existed, but somehow this this stream resulted in SFX being null. I don't think that can happen, but it's not bad to check these kind of things in general when you're. It's just a kind of a quick load. So we'll do this, and we'll just say sound effects dot add, and the key will be SFX key and sound effect. So now we're adding to this sound effects, kind of just where we put all the sound effects in the sound manager. And now we're going to create, let's see, this is not in the for each, right? Yeah, so sound effect instances. We have to, actually, I won't have to do that, I think, unless we load it multiple times. But in that case, I should have done it to sound effects as well. I'm thinking if this is some, you know, we could do that. So this might be looking a bit like, what's the word? Redundant. Like I already set these, but then again, if you do sound manager and then you, we're not going to have anything that, you know, I just feel like you could do this. It would be okay because these are private. No one else is gonna get a hold of these except for the sound manager itself. I guess you could literally be able to. Yeah, you might be able to later. I'm gonna check. Do I have any reason to? Yeah, actually we are. So let's just do this. It's better. We'll have these, and in case we do load content twice in any way, we'll reset it so we don't make like double the instances of anything. And of course, now we just have to go. Oh yeah, we have a number actually that I have forgotten. We could put it into the sound manager, I suppose, and we could just say max sound effect instances. It's a long word. We'll have private int max sound effect instances. We could put it as like a 3 or something. It's gonna get overwritten, but you could almost also see it as like a kind of comment in a way, like 3 is an okay number. We could also do this, I suppose. No, of course, no, it has to be the second. Let's do it that way then. It might be a good thing. Then we don't have to actually say it. This, you know, could still stay. It's going to be overwritten anyway. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So for oh yeah, we actually have to do for each. Do we? Yeah, we can reuse this SFX, and we create a new list of sound effect instances. Sound effect instances. Oh, sound effect instance, I mean. Call it instances or something. And we loop through the amount of max sound effect instances. And in here we create a sound effect instance. I call it SFX instance in this case because instances I don't usually use. Instance, however, is something that I sometimes use, so I don't want to confuse these things. I guess we could do SFX instances. And I think this is where we want to... Oh, okay, it doesn't work like that. Sorry. Actually, no, wait, you don't even create it like that. Sorry, I am confused. So we take the sound effect, this sound effect basically that we've stored previously, and we can call create instance. And that basically just, you could say, yeah, well, it creates an instance of this sound. So it, you have to kind of save it's actually the instances that you play and not the sound effects. So that's why you need the sound effect instances. I should probably have covered that sooner, but, and then you have to set these, let's see, these, like, you could set pan. We're not going to do that yet. Also, there's is loop. So that might be a way to kind of, I don't know if there's a max size or anything, but if you want to have music in the background going, you might just have one of these sound effect instances going as a play. And thing is, yeah, we'll see if that's how we use it, because there is another way to do music. But so let's see, we do have. Oh wait, we have to look through the settings, yeah. So in our settings is where we have the settings for this specific key, and we'll have some sort of default volume. and I'll copy paste a bit. So we'll say pitch, default pitch. Is there anything yet that I'm forgetting? I think that's it. So we'll add this to the SFX instances, SFX instance. So basically it'll create an instance of the sound effect that we have, and it'll create as many as it's allowed to. And it'll put it into this list, and then we want to put it into the sound effect instances, and we have the sound effects key and the list of sound effects instances. Then we're going to, actually I thought this was going to be a short one, but I'm kind of up on almost 30 minutes, but we're almost at the end here, so let's get the home stretch here. We're going to say play sound, and we're going to say p what's a good one? What did I use before? I always have my cheat sheet. I actually call it sound. I don't like that. Maybe we should be more like actually reuse the word key. And I'll have something called allow interrupt, and maybe false by default. So this is what we actually call. So basically we'll have the sound manager, and we'll say play sound, and we'll say coin perhaps. And we're gonna get to the, I'm going to show you a program that's pretty good for making sound as well. There's a lot of people who use Monogame who has seen it before. It's the SFXR. We're going to look at that after we've done this part. I'm actually gonna try to do this a bit quicker now, so I'll kind of look at my notes a bit more. So first of all, we want to find our instances, and we do that by saying sound effects instances. Also, we could do if sound effect instances contains key, p key. We'll do all this. If you want to throw an error, if the sound was not found, then you do it here, like else say, oh, there was a. To me personally, it's like if you say play sound and you try to get a sound that it doesn't exist, we'll just not play it. It's not the end of the world, and we will probably notice it at some point. I'm going to get a list of the instances that are in a specific state. Actually, let's use S sound effect, and we're going to look at state, specifically those that are stopped, and instance stopped count if the count of instances stopped equals 0, which means all of them are playing. Like if all of them are playing, then we also have to check allow interrupt. And if allow interrupt is, which basically is, are we allowed to interrupt the instances? Oh yeah, sorry, and we need to do this. Are we allowed to interrupt the instances when everyone's playing? Then yes, we'll do this, and we'll basically say instance, we'll take the first instance of the ones that we found that are stopped. We'll say, or sorry, that aren't stopped, that are currently playing, and we'll say stop that instance, and then play it like immediately afterwards. It's just gonna basically play it. However, if we do not have if there is something that isn't playing, or sorry, if let's see, I have to think here. If oh yeah, if instances stopped count is bigger than 0. I'm just thinking, why have I been thinking it? Oh yeah, it's because this one doesn't have anything to do with allow interrupt. So if we have more than 0 instances stopped, which means some of these instances aren't playing any sound, we'll just take the first instance of these, and we'll basically say play. So In case we have nothing that is stopped, like we don't have anything available, but we are allowing interrupt, then stop the first one and play of these. Else, if there are currently some of them that aren't playing at the moment, we'll just take the first one of those and play. And after that, we only have one more function to go. Public voids, let's see, stop sound, string key, and we'll say, oh yeah, we'll do the same here, right? So we'll say, whoops, did it? Yeah, it didn't create a new bracket. There we go. So if the instance exists, we shall say, oh yeah, this is where you might want to do it a bit differently in instances. Oh yeah, sorry, we haven't even done the instances. So instances equals to same up, like up here. We'll just check through the sound effect instances for the key that we've established. We'll say for each one in these, if the instance we're looking at, state, is not stopped, we just tell it to stop. I think that's it. So this basically takes one entire sound, like coin, or in this case, and just kills it. Just all of the instances, not just one. But if you want to have control over specific instances, you might have to divide them up somehow and keep track of the ID of the instance specifically that you want to stop. There might be reasons for that. That's something you'll have to kind of figure out and add onto the engine yourself. Now, we don't have any coin sound that, in this one. So I'm going to show you something that I really like. And the way you get to this program is you just type in like sfx R. Whoops, I say that and type sfxe. And the first one is Dr. Petter, drpetter.se project sfxr. And here you have this little program. You can get the one version you need and want. And I'll show you how it looks, or what it looks like. This is it. So I'm not going to go through how this one works. You have a few different things like square wave, sawtooth, sine wave, noise, and you can you can, what's the word? Meddle with? No, but you can toggle and slide all these different sliders a bit to change the sound. And you have some generators for kind of typical sounds, and you can mutate, which slightly changes the sound. I'm gonna just lower the volume a bit. And randomize totally randomizes the... Wow, sorry if any of these are loud. It's quite... some of the sounds are pretty annoying. Some of them are great. So this is why I chose coin, because there's already a coin one. Yeah, that's... Maybe you like that one. So you just export it and you'll say coin. Oops, not CPOM. Coin. And let's go to that coin, and we'll just drag it in here, and we'll go to properties, copy always, and we'll have coin.wave being loaded. But yeah, let's first of all check if this actually runs, or if I've written something horrible. Okay. So it runs, but we have no way of triggering the sound. So we go to the startup screen here, and I guess we can do if YouTube game instance input manager pressed input, and I'll just go with one of the buttons we already have, because this is just basically a test. We don't have any real use for the sounds yet. We'll say YouTube game instance sound manager play sound coin. We can begin by not allowing the interrupt, but what we have said when we created the sound manager is that we can only have 3 instances of the coin sound going. So if I press up 4 times while the sound is running, we'll only get to hear 3 sounds. This is quite a short sound, so I don't think I can press that quickly. But, you know, so it might not matter if you have allow interrupt on a very short sound. It's something you'll have to play around with. Let's see. So if we press up, hopefully we'll hear a sound. We didn't. Wait. Oh, sorry. I pressed up. Apparently we had WASD. Now that was a horrible sound. And that's because in this case, when I press up, this happens a multiple of times, and that's not good. So you could have a few different ways to handle this, like delay or something. I mean, you heard it play, even though it was kind of a horrible. I'm just thinking, I think it's because of how the input manager is currently coded. I'm just gonna check how we decided to do this, or how I decided to do this. I'm not gonna bring you in here for the mistakes I make. So we have the pressed keys state, and I think when we check this, right? Yeah, we might have to do a few different things. We could also, of course, do something like if game time dot I wonder what's actually best to do. You know what? I'll just pause here and I'll make a bit of a better kind of a test here. Be right back. Okay, back here. I changed the default volume down to 0.25 because it's kind of ear deafening sound. So what I did was, and this is temporary. I'm gonna erase this in front of your eyes, so I don't have to kind of say that this is what's going in on the YouTube Game Project GitHub page. But I just made a simple date time here for the next sound. Set it to a minimum value, and then we'll say whenever we press up, if the next sound is less than current time, then play the sound and then add 200 milliseconds on now for the next sound. So it's going to wait 200 milliseconds until it gets to play it again, in case you're still pressing up. This should help it play every 200 milliseconds. And it does. And so I feel like, because this is also getting a bit of a long kind of episode, 30-40 minutes or something, there's also some kind of a homework you could yourself do. Like, how would you tackle this problem of, you know, we're pressing up and it's being kind of every 16 milliseconds or something, depending on how often this update is called. It'll go through here and it's going to try to play the sound because you pressed something. So you want to have like some normal delay, or have some sort of, you know, it's okay to play the sound now, but as long as, you know, this is occurring, you do not play it again, even though someone is pressing. So maybe it's like, oh, you pressed up. I'm going to change the character state into jumping, or picked up a coin, and then, you know, while he is still jumping, you can't trigger the jumping again, so the sound won't be playing. So some things will probably be able to handle themselves, but you might want to have some sort of inbuilt delay into your system somehow. Something I usually do is the input manager might be, it has perhaps kind of a duration. Like if you press W, it'll kind of trigger W, and then it'll wait a certain delay, and then it'll keep like www, you know, pressing, just like how it works in Word, for example. If you press any kind of letter, it'll first print a letter, then it takes a little while, perhaps 300 milliseconds or something, and then it'll start repeating the whatever you pressed a lot. And there's also a timer in between how often it repeats it, because if you had no delay in between how often it repeats the letter you typed, it would just, you know, create 1,000 W's perhaps after each other. So you also have that kind of repeating delay that you could add onto the input manager if you want to, or if you want to put it into sound manager. Right now we're kind of unlimited. It's like play how often you want. So I'm going to remove this because it doesn't necessarily, it isn't a good example. And the most important part is now we have sound handling in the engine and we can make something better around it. So I'll actually leave this little tutorial at that because, as I said multiple times, I'm kind of dragging it on quite a bit. And I hope that it'll kind of get you started with handling sound, and this is without using the the content manager or content pipeline. Sorry, my mind is all over the place today. So you can just in the end put all these different content files into one big file, or however you want to do it, and then just load specifically this amount of data to load the coin sound. So yeah, I hope that it's been interesting, and I will definitely try to create more of these as I go. It's quite difficult, but I'll try to do it anyway. It's kind of something I find very fun to share with you, but it's also very difficult because I don't want to release kind of really bad code. Anyway, I will see you in the next one, hopefully, and I hope you have an awesome day. Take care.